Hey, Disney cruisers, and welcome back to the DCL community. Well, we are here to help you plan, prepare for, and get excited for your Disney cruise. And today we are so excited. The day is finally here. It feels like Christmas Day with the announcement of the 2025 summer itineraries that were finally released from DCL. So we are excited. We're going to be talking through all the FAQs that got submitted. And as people are coming in, let us know, have you already been looking at itineraries? Do you have your eye on one or two, or maybe like me, 5 or 6 of them? And say hello. But as people are coming in, Chelsea, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Chelsea Russo. I am a travel agent with My Path Unwinding Travel. I work with Karen Shelton. She's our fearless leader over at My Path Unwinding Travel. I've been in the travel industry since 2019. 2018, maybe. And of course, I love all things Disney. I'm an annual pass holder. Love
Love it.
cruising, all of it.
Yes, and I was going to say, a mom of 2, so thinking about those school
Yeah.
schedules, looking out, it's always important to keep that in mind. And summer's like the
Yes,
busiest travel time, so
of
we are
course.
so excited to be diving in. If you guys have any questions, or if you want to get started on planning your 2025 or even 2024, there's still itineraries open, Disney cruise, reach out to Chelsea, Karen, and the team over at My Path Unwinding Travel. I'm going to go ahead and get the link in the comments, but that's the link on screen as well. We're going to go through these FAQs. If you guys have questions that we are not answering, put those in the comments and we are going to do our best to get to them. But let's go ahead and get started with just like what got released today.
Yeah, so basically everything from early mid-May through mid-September got released. So we're seeing the Wish is continuing on with sailings from Port Canaveral with 3 and 4 night itineraries going to Nassau and Castaway Cay. The Treasure, of course, which is doing its maiden voyage in December, is going to continue. Leaving from Port Canaveral is going to continue those Eastern and Western Caribbean itineraries for 7 nights. The Magic has actually switched over to Port Canaveral for summer 2025. It's going to be doing 4 and 5 night itineraries, stopping in Lookout
Wow.
Cay and Nassau on the bulk of the 4 nights. There's also some 5 night options doing both private islands and Nassau, and there is one 4 night that is going to just the 2 private islands, which is
Sign me
one of
up for that
my
one.
favorites. I know that's one of my favorites too. Let's see. And then there's also a 10-night option on the Magic in July that is doing both private islands along with Antigua, St. Kitts, Puerto Rico, and Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. There's a similar itinerary to that this summer on the Fantasy, except the one that's this summer is doing Dominica and St. Lucia in place of Puerto Rico and St. Kitts. So that's kind of a unique one. That's probably up there in my top 5 favorite
Yeah.
itineraries. The Wonder, of course, back in Alaska with 5, 7, 8, and 9 night options, round trip from Vancouver. And then the Dream is going to be in Fort Lauderdale with several 3-night options that go to Lookout Cay and Nassau as well. And then they also have several 4-night options that are doing both private islands as well. So if you have a preference in ports or ships, you kind of have some options for those dual island itineraries.
Yeah.
And then let's see, we've also got some 5-night options on the Dream that are going to Cozumel and Castaway Cay, and then some 5-night options that are doing both private islands and Nassau.
Wow.
And probably the biggest change that we've seen is the Fantasy is doing her first transatlantic
Yeah.
and with passengers, and
Yes.
the first European circuit. So that's going to be everything from 7-night Med, Greek Isles out of Barcelona, Northern Europe out of Southampton, British Isles, several 3, 4, and 5-night itineraries out of Southampton, and then the Norwegian Fjords itinerary, as well as a 12-night Greek Isles.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, some of these European sailings just sound like a dream come true.
I know,
And
one
they look
day.
right? They look so amazing. And I know we said, right, there's so many things happening kind of all over many continents at this point. Is that something that you guys are able to help with travel-wise too? Not just the cruise, but can you help with hotels or travel insurance? And I don't know, Adventures by Disney, or that's huge in a lot of countries too. Can you guys do all of those?
Absolutely. So post night hotel stays, transfers to and from the airport, transfers to and from the
Yeah,
ship. Um, some people do choose to do an Adventures by Disney add-on in some of these locations because they do offer them as well. So they do have short escapes in Rome and things like that that you can certainly add on. And then, of course, travel insurance for the whole thing. So we
yeah.
work with several independent travel insurance companies that would cover you door to door, your flight, transfers, hotels, all of that.
Amazing. Yeah, it's so important, especially with these international trips. And you never know when the kid's going to get sick or fall off the bike and break something. We had somebody in the group say that the other day. And, as parents, you can never be too prepared. So having the
Absolutely.
insurance, it's that peace of mind. And I know we have these itineraries that were announced today. When can people actually start booking them?
So they will be available starting next week. Disney does a tiered structure for their releases. So for Monday, it's going to be Pearl members, which are people that have more than 25 sailings. Platinum members will be on Tuesday, along with Golden Oak and Club 33 members. Wednesday is going to be gold members. Thursday will be silver members, DVC members, and adventure insiders. So that's people that have completed at least one Adventures by Disney. And then on Friday, bookings will be fully open to the general public.
Got it. Okay, that's awesome. And I know people are probably stressed out. Oh, I'm a first time cruiser or I'm just silver. Are things going to be sold out by the time that they get to me? Or am I going to be okay?
I mean, for an itinerary, for itineraries like this, probably we're not seeing sold out day one. But we may see some price changes depending on if sailings are more in high demand than expected. They might start raising some of those prices towards the end of the week, but
Yeah.
we'll have to see.
I was going to say, I know pricing is always a really big question because the prices up there now are kind of ballparks. We don't know for sure until
Right.
opening day, but that's something that you guys can keep an eye on for your clients, right? I can say, okay, Chelsea, this is the itinerary that my family wants. Can you let me know the second it opens and what that price actually looks like, right?
Absolutely. As soon as pricing becomes available for Pearl members on Monday, we go in there, and that is something that we do for all of our clients, regardless of what status you hold. If you reach
Awesome.
out to us for a quote beforehand, on Monday, you will get a quote from us.
Awesome.
That, just depending on availability and things, that price might fluctuate slightly by the time we get to your booking window. Um, but we can usually provide a fairly accurate quote just based off of Monday's pricing for everybody.
Fantastic. And I know that everyone's talking about booking next week, but do I really need to book next week? Can I wait to book, or are there any perks or advantages for booking next week?
I always say earlier is better when it comes to literally anything Disney related. The more time you have to plan, the earlier you book, the better the pricing is. If, opening day pricing is going to be the best pricing that you see on these itineraries. It's only going to go up from there as demand and scarcity drive the pricing up.
Yeah, I was going to say, for those who don't know, Disney price is based on supply and demand. So as the ships
Correct.
fill, the prices go up. And, concierge is definitely a very hot commodity, especially on a lot, well, I would say across the whole fleet. So if concierge is important, you're going to want to get in that first week. If, stateroom selection is important to you, get in early. And then you have all that time to pay it off. Because remind me, what's the deposit? What's actually due next week when you book it? And
For the
can you
deposit,
oh, yeah, go ahead.
sorry, the deposit is 20% of the cruise fare.
Got it.
So
Oh,
that will be due for concierge, that is due within 24 hours. And then for standard room bookings, that is due within 3 days.
awesome. Okay, that was going to be my next question was if can I like put a hold on something and how long do I have if I can put a hold on a room? So it
Yeah,
sounds like 3 days.
absolutely. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so don't stress. It's just 20% down and then you do have if anything happens, you get that 20% back, right? It's refundable through final payment. Is that right?
Yes. So for standard rooms, it is refundable through final payment. And then for concierge, that is the only instance where the deposit is non-refundable, but it is movable to a different sailing
Got
prior to
it.
final payment. So if something comes up, you decide you don't want that itinerary, you're just kind of using it maybe as a placeholder until fall, winter 2025 itineraries come out. By all means, we can move
Yeah.
that deposit for you.
Good to know. And you mentioned placeholders. I know that's a question I've been seeing everywhere is can I use a placeholder on these reservations and how do I use a placeholder?
So I have not seen any blackout dates for 2025 summer itineraries yet. I checked today. I even called just to ask. They said they don't have any um,
Wow.
communication on if there will be blackout dates for the summer at all. So as of right now, there are no blackout dates, so you can use a placeholder. Those do need to be called in. So when
Mm,
phone lines open up at 8 a.m., if you were planning on using a placeholder booking, you need to call it in.
yeah. And you said 8 a.m. What time zone? Any time zone?
Eastern.
Eastern. Okay. So make sure if you're, especially if you're in other parts of the world, Eastern New York time, we just had daylight savings. There might be some confusion on that. Whatever time it is in New York, in Florida, right? Keep it simple, where Disney is. And I guess that's probably one of the biggest. I mean, there are so many perks to working with a travel agent, but especially when these itineraries get released, the phone lines are insane. Like people are waiting 2, 4, 6, I've seen up to 8 hours to try and get through. But you guys sit on hold for your clients, right?
Absolutely. So if anything needs to be called in, if we're doing multiple staterooms for the same family, if we're booking placeholders, we will call in and we sit on that phone line for them so that they do not have to.
Yes, I was gonna say, I know I am working on Monday when I am Pearl, which is awesome, but I know I'm gonna be working. So it's so nice to just be able to say like, hey Chelsea, this is the itinerary that we want. Can you shift our placeholder over? And if somebody has a placeholder right now, can they transfer that over to you guys so that you can help them next week, or how does that work?
So it depends on when the placeholder was booked because a placeholder is technically considered a reservation. And just like your standard reservations, those can only be transferred within 30 days of the
Got it.
booking. So the same rules apply to a placeholder. If you booked one on a sailing you had 20 days ago and you want to transfer it over, by all means. But those, if you booked it a year ago, those can't be transferred over to an agent.
Awesome. Okay. And just quickly, in case anybody doesn't know what a placeholder is, can we define that super quick and what I guess talk about what the perks are for that?
So a placeholder is a sort of like a deposit that you make towards a future cruise while you are on a cruise currently. So you can get a booking offer on board. It's $250, and that goes towards your deposit on a next cruise. It has to be used within 2 years of the booking date, and that goes towards your deposit. And then you also get about a 10% um, discount towards that
Yeah.
future cruise.
I was going to say, people are always asking, always, how do I save money on a Disney cruise? How do I save money on a Disney cruise? And a placeholder is got to be one of the best ways, if not the best way to save, because automatically 10%, unless you're concierge, 10% off your sailing. And that's just, where else are you going to get those savings? That's amazing. So I guess looking at this batch of itineraries, right, or speaking of questions that people are going to have, we're already getting the questions about, okay, we got summer, but what about fall? What about holidays? What about Halloween? When can we expect the next batch of itineraries?
So For fall and winter 2025, last year itineraries for those dates were released in mid-June, I think like the 12th or the 13th of June. Historically, they've been released sometime between mid-May and like end of June, early July. So that's probably going to be a safe bet for when we will see the next round of itineraries. But I would be willing to put money on the fact that we will probably see the dates for Halloween sailings released around the same time or slightly before. Because some of the itineraries for September and August will be converted to Halloween sailings.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's such a good point. And those Halloween sailings are such a hot commodity. And I think for anybody who's watching who is looking towards those future itinerary releases, a great thing to do is just to connect with Chelsea and the team at My Path Unwinding Travel, then get on their contact list now. So that way you're not having to constantly refresh the Disney Cruise Line website or check the Facebook page every day to see what's new, what's new, what's new. As much as I love having you in the Facebook group, this is a great way where they can just flag you and say, hey, these were released. Let's schedule a quick call to talk about what you're interested in so we can get that booked for you. Super, super easy. And I am seeing this question about San Diego. I know San Diego and New York are the ports that people have been so adamant about Disney making sure has a presence. And do we have anything for San Diego for 2025? And what about New York?
There's nothing for the summer for San Diego. For New York, they typically would do the Bermuda sailings in the fall. So they haven't released those sailings yet. So we're just not sure if they're going to do New York this year or if they're going to skip it.
Yeah.
So that's a wait and see kind of scenario.
Yes, I was going to say, stay tuned on that one. And again, get in touch with the team over at My Path Unwinding Travel, and they can put you on the wait list. And if New York is important to you, there are other cruise lines that sail from New York. So maybe it's a conversation about what other offerings there are from that port that would suit you and your family or your friends, whoever you're traveling with. Now, getting back to summer 2025, I know we talked about some of the things that we're excited about, that southern or eastern Caribbean cruise. It's like, what was that, like 10 nights? I know that's at the
Yes.
top of my list. Are there any other ones that you have your eyes on for next year or that your clients are already super excited about?
I definitely have had a few reach out about additional treasure sailings because some people kind of were waiting to see what would happen, or the summer itineraries look more appealing for them and their schedules. So now that we have that, I do have a few people interested in treasure sailings.
Awesome.
And then, of course, Alaska is always
Such a
a
hot
hot,
commodity.
right, for sure. I mean, Alaska's beautiful. One of the best ways to see Alaska is on a cruise ship. And who better to see it with than Disney?
I was gonna say, there's just nothing like seeing all the characters in their Alaska outfits out on deck, just taking it all in. I mean, it's the best. It's the best. And I guess looking ahead at next year, right? A lot of people, we've been talking about pricing a lot and the fact that this is the best time to book for those opening dates. But is pricing on everything else just suddenly going to drop? Or should we expect some massive sales to go on for all the other cruises now that new pricing is out?
Nope.
No, I was going to
Disney
say.
pricing, I mean, there's always demand for Disney cruises. So, and they don't typically release a ton of discounts and a ton of promotions for their cruise line product. So I wouldn't expect anything steep in terms of discounts for current sailings.
Yes, I know. I'm like, I know we're all hopeful that that Disney Plus deal is going to come back at some point in the
That was
future,
a
but
great one.
yes, but right now, nothing, especially on these summer sailings, they're fresh. So get on it. I would say go ahead. Don't. I made the mistake last year and I'm still kicking myself over. I was like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I didn't take my own advice and I tried to wait to get a good deal on a cruise and it did not work out. The price shot up. We ended up not even being able to go on the cruise. So don't wait for some massive deal. The same thing happened in the group last week. Somebody waiting on an Alaska sailing and the price almost doubled on them. So I don't say this to scare you, but and learn from my mistakes, learn from other group members. Go ahead, get the deposit down, and you can make right. You can make payments up until
Absolutely. Yes.
amazing.
You can absolutely arrange for a payment plan. The final payment date does tend to vary just depending on what your status is with the cruise line. Um, but yeah, you can make
Get
any payments in any amount you want up until final payment.
Oh, I love that. So I guess just some final tidbits on why working with a travel agent is such a good thing. Yes, for these new itineraries, but just kind of in general, what value does a travel agent provide when looking at a Disney cruise or a Disney vacation in general?
So I mean, we're all here because we love the Disney brand. But Disney vacations are inherently stressful. The IT is just, it's notoriously glitchy. The call centers have really long wait times. There's often a bunch of dates you have to keep track of for various booking windows, final payments, shore excursions, if you're in the parks for dining,
Oh, yeah.
a lot involved. So having somebody to help you navigate all of that is really helpful, especially since it's not increasing the price of your cruise to do so. It's also having somebody in your back pocket for the entirety of your vacation from the time that you book it until the time you come home. So rather than having to call the call center or do the research on your own, you just send your travel agent an email or a text or them a phone call. Um, you have somebody who's able to handle that and answer those questions for you. They can help book pre, post cruise stays, arrange transportation, quote insurance, do all of that for you.
Yes, it takes so much pressure and stress off of you planning the vacation on your own. And I know I'm a very type A person. I like things a certain way, but not having to worry about groceries and kids and sports and who's getting to where at what time and work and everything else and the vacation on top of it. It just, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And it costs you literally $0 more. Like, why would it's the best. It's the best. I can't recommend it enough. So to end this out, if you guys have any questions, if you are interested in booking a cruise for 2025 with Disney or any other cruise line, reach out to the team at My Path Unwinding Travel. That's the link up on screen. I'll get this in the comments as well. But Chelsea, what itineraries are you definitely going to be booking next week? What are you thinking about?
Oh my goodness. If I could get on that 10 night on the Magic, I would.
I know.
I love that itinerary. That's like my dream right there.
I was gonna say, and the Magic too is so wonderful. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, the Magic, she's the oldest ship. Is she gonna be as good?" Disney takes such great care of their ships. The Magic
Oh,
is
the
amazing.
Magic is beautiful. I
Right?
love the Magic. I mean, they all are. There isn't a single ship that I would say never again.
Yes, I totally agree. We're sailing the Magic in a couple of months, and I am pumped. I could not be more excited to get on board. We just sailed the Wish, and the Wish was wonderful and beautiful, but there's just nothing like the Disney Magic. But thank
No.
you guys so much for joining us tonight. We are so excited to hear about what everybody books next week. If you have any questions or want to start strategizing about your cruise, reach out to the team at My Path Unwinding. Their planning services are free for you to utilize. So let them be that resource in your planning. Thanks y'all for joining. Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you so much. And we will see all y'all on board real soon. Bye, guys.
Thank you for having me.